Stand by to launch FanStream Sports.
3, 2, 1. Let's start.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to FanStream Sports. Nothing but pure sports. This is the JP Show.
JP, it is so good to hear you back on the air.
Stand by. Now, here's JP.
All right, happy Thursday, everybody. We had a big football game. These Thursday games aren't throwaway, awful ball games like we've had for the past 5 to 10 years. Now we got good ones, and it's the Chargers and the Chiefs tonight, two of the best quarterbacks in all of the NFL. It's going to be fun to watch. So we're going to kick off NFL week with a bang tonight with Justin Herbert going against Patrick Mahomes. Welcome into the JP Peterson Show. We appreciate you guys jumping in here. Brought to you by Emerging Investigations in our first hour at Emerging INV, Tampa Bay's #1 private investigation agency. Nick Geddes from Outsider.com joining me here this morning. How are you, sir?
I'm jacked up for tonight.
Yeah,
I got no dog in the fight. I think I got what? I'm sure we all have fantasy. If you don't have a fantasy,
Am I starting Mike Williams tonight?
Ooh, yes, I think it's going to be a shootout.
Yeah, because Keenan Allen's not playing.
Yeah, so it should be a shootout.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you mentioned it, Thursday Night Football, real quick. Do you remember, it was like 2015, 2016, Thursday Night Football, all it was meant to do was for everybody to show off their Color Rush uniforms, if you recall. That's how low on the priority list. Do you remember that Jags-Titans game in 2015 where the Titans wore the baby blues all the way down and the Jaguars wore that, like, awful mustard gold or mustard green all the way down? One of the worst played football games I've ever seen.
Horrific.
And then you had the infamous Jets and Bills game where both teams sucked and the Bills were all red and the Jets were all green. And it was like Christmas time. So we've come a long way.
Yeah, now it's actual real football.
And this game last year, if I recall, was played on Thursday Night Football. And it was awesome. If you recall, went to overtime, Travis Kelce. So a rematch of that.
And it's on Amazon tonight?
I think it's on Amazon. I'm going to double check, but isn't that what they said?
Yeah.
Isn't that what they said? It was going to be on Amazon?
It's $18 billion for this contract.
Yeah, and you have your Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit, right?
I guess so, yeah.
At least we have a good announce crew. There we go.
Yeah, but I think it's just on Amazon. You have to have Prime to watch it. No, you can watch it on NFL Network.
The way they made it sound like this was exclusively Amazon Prime's membership or whatever to watch Thursday Night Football, but people will find a way.
So it's not. Yeah,
people will find a way.
People find a way to watch it, I guess. So we got some good football tonight. We're going to get to the Bucs Saints. Big day to talk about that. Mike Neighbor's going to join us at 10:30. Our Saints expert. So we'll chat with him at 10:30. We're going to get into some of the sound here in our first segment. Also, we've also got Scott Carter joining us at 11 o'clock today to talk Gator football. Brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group. So we'll dive into the USF Florida matchup, which we haven't really talked about much this week. We'll get a little Jeff Scott to you as well. Billy Napier. I didn't realize Jeff Scott and Billy Napier were so close. And Billy Napier basically got his career started by Jeff's dad, Brad Scott, who was the longtime offense coordinator at FSU. That's how I got to know Brad and Jeff. And then when he was at Clemson, he brought in Billy Napier, and then Jeff Scott came over, and the rest is history. So these two now square off in very different places with, and they're great friends, obviously, and they owe so much to each other's families. I got to wonder about that. If I'm Billy Napier, if I'm going to bet this game, I'm definitely going to bet USF. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, because Napier's not going to run it up on his buddy.
Oh, come on.
No, he's not.
No.
He might not be able to. He might not be able to help it.
He ain't going to be able to help it. Come on.
He might not be able to help it.
Do we recall what Anthony Richardson did to USF last year in like a few plays?
Yeah, I do recall.
Yeah.
I also recall what Anthony Richardson did last week.
Okay, against Kentucky.
Really bad.
Against Kentucky.
Really bad. Which actually will certainly drive him to have a better game.
You can't get any worse than that.
That was bad. Made a little money off that one too. Thank you very much. Kentucky. This just in, Kentucky's pretty good. Pretty good. They're pretty good. When you go into the swamp and dominate them like that, you're pretty damn good. And tell you what, Mark Stoops is a damn good coach too.
Yeah,
he is a damn good football coach, and I don't know how Kentucky is keeping him there because his name comes up every year.
He's got the best coach. He's got the best job in college football. I'm not even kidding. He can sit there and win 9-10 games constantly and never get fired because nobody at Kentucky is expecting him to win a national championship. It does not matter.
It's a perfect spot for him. Yeah.
That's why he doesn't go anywhere.
It was like Jim Levitt
No
at
pressure.
USF. When Jim was here at USF, everything was gravy. And then, of course, stupid stuff happened, and he was gone. It was ridiculous. But anyway, this is going to be for Jeff Scott, it really is a big opportunity. I mean, I'm not expecting much from USF. Let's just be honest about that. The BYU game was a complete and utter disaster. I think they're better than that. The Howard game, I took a look at some of that.
The only thing I'll say, BYU looks like a much better football team than we all thought.
Yeah, they're really good.
I mean, they just beat Baylor for crying out loud.
Yeah, they're really good. They are what we expected them to be. They're a good football team. And USF went up to Provo last year in the beginning of the year, and was good. They I think it was a 1-score game. They were in the game the whole time, and then you just get boat raced at home. And Gary Bohannon was terrible. The whole team was terrible. And then you can't really tell anything from last week's game against Howard. Nothing positive, really. I'm not taking anything positive. But I think this one, now you're 3 weeks in. There's no nerves. There's no newness. You know what you're supposed to be doing. Obviously, you're going to go into a hornet's nest in the swamp. But I expect USF to stand up a little bit better. I really do. I do not expect them to get – if they get really blown out, if it's like, 50-7, that's just really, really bad. You just got to expect more from this USF team with all the transfers they have coming in. There's going to be some time that guys get acclimated to the new systems, the new defense. I get all that, but we've got to see some progress this week. I don't expect them to win, but we have got to see some progress from USF. We got to see some fight. We got to see some competitiveness. We got to see some execution. It doesn't, like I said, they don't have to go out and win the game, but we have got to see some progress this week. And for Florida, I mean, it's a bounce back week, and for Anthony Richardson, did you see the memes going around with the gravestone? Anthony Richardson's Heisman campaign.
Yeah, I did.
One game, yeah. That died quickly. I think there's way too much hype around this kid. He's a phenomenal talent. As good a physical. I mean, you said it. He's Cam Newton. He's the second coming of Cam Newton. But my God, is he raw? He is. He just is. Really needs to learn how to play quarterback.
We do this a lot. We do this in the NFL too.
Yeah.
We're so blinded by a great performance, a guy who's really flashy, and then we crown him right away.
Right.
Everybody's like, "Oh, number 1 overall pick, Anthony Richardson. He's going to push. He's in Bryce Young." No, he's not.
No, he's not.
He's not.
No, it's just and not to say that he's not going to.
He can be, but
not to say that he can't.
Not right now.
But let's just slow down with this young man. Let's slow down. He's a hometown kid. There's a lot of pressure on him. He's supremely talented, so much expectations, and he's got to be reading all these press clippings too. Oh, he could be a top 5 pick in the draft. I mean, what?
Not right now.
What? I mean, when I read that, I was like, that's just ridiculous.
We saw him on the same field as Will Levis, who's thought to be a top 10 draft pick.
Right.
And tell me which one looked the part and which one didn't look the part.
Well, I think we know the answer to that question.
Yeah. By the way, what the hell are you betting? The spread's 24.5. You got USF losing under that?
I think they can keep it under 24 now. I think Billy Napier will empty the benches to make sure that it's not embarrassment for his buddy Jeff Scott.
I think the benches would beat USF's A team, honestly.
That's mean. That's mean-spirited.
Just being honest,
guy.
Yeah.
Mean-spirited.
Go Knights, Chargers.
No, listen. I thought I knew a little bit about, but honestly, did we really know anything about USF?
No, we were going off hype.
We're going off hype. Like, okay, these guys played at other schools. They're good D1 players. This coaching staff appears to know what they're doing. I think they're going to show well against BYU. Oh God, what is this? So then you step back and you're like, oh my God. And then, Howard, and then now, okay, let's see what you got against Florida. Again, if they get embarrassed and they are looking like, an FCS team, I'm not saying, fire Jeff Scott on the spot. That's not what I'm saying at all. And I don't think Michael Kelly will. I think he's going to stick with him because honestly, changing coaches right now is not going to help you. It's not going to help you. You've got some recruiting in the pipeline. It's just not going to help you. Not at USF. You need some continuity is the thing that's going to help you build and win games at USF right now. Because who are you going to go get? Who's coming to USF right now? I don't see it. So I think you definitely ride out this year with Jeff Scott and expect progress each and every game. And if you're not seeing it, then at the end of the year, you have to make some very hard decisions. So, but we'll have a lot more information then than we have now. So, everybody just calm down about Jeff Scott. Let's see this season play out, see if they get better as the year goes on, see how these games play out, see how see if the kids keep fighting, see if the execution is good. There's a lot to learn in the rest of this season. So let's not throw it away yet if you're a USF fan. All right, let's get to the Bucs, and we're going to talk more obviously with Scott Carter at 11 o'clock, Mike Neighbors coming up at 10:30. So I have in front of me the questions that have been on the no, I won't do the Karnak thing, but I have in front of me the injury list for the Buccaneers. It literally reads like a Hall of Fame ballot or All-Pro ballot. Tom Brady did not participate. Veteran day off. Didn't do a lot of this.
Got a lot of those veteran days off.
Yeah, we didn't do a lot of this last year though. Did we? I don't remember him on Wednesdays taking the day off. I don't remember that. But I told you this year that there's going to be a lot of saving his arm and his shoulder and his elbow to preserve that. So, but you don't worry about it. I mean, let's be honest. Mike Evans has a calf strain, limited. Leonard Fournette, hamstring. Russell Gage, hamstring, did not participate. Chris Godwin did not participate. I don't expect him to play this week. Shouldn't have played last week. Julio Jones, knee, did not participate. Zion McCollum, hamstring. Probably not going to see him for a while. Brashard Perryman has a knee, was limited. Donovan Smith, elbow, did not participate. Tristan Wirfs, abdomen, limited participation. But here's the good news. Todd Bowles said that he's not worried about any of the receivers not playing. So
that's the exception to Godwin, correct?
I would think Godwin would be the exception there.
Which, I mean, we're not getting any concrete answers from Mr. Bowles anyway, so.
No, and not that, Bruce was actually much more forthcoming with that type of information, but it's Todd Bowles style to not be. So we're not going to get any injury information this year of any note whatsoever. And that's fine. Most of the stuff you get anyway is probably not real reliable anyway. Coaches are always playing games with injuries where
I think it was one of the big insiders. I think it might have been Jordan Schultz. Obviously, those guys are able to go around the corner behind the back door and get more info than like a beat reporter can because of how close they all here sometimes. But he said it's like more of a week-to-week injury, and that was for Godwin, and that was a much better diagnosis than they were expecting based on what they thought on Sunday.
Right. Yeah.
So it might be a pain tolerance thing. Who knows? Yeah,
but with hamstrings, you can't mess around with them. You just don't know because as soon as you think you're good, and you got to stretch it out on reach down low for a pass. Like he had to do, it's in an awkward situation while you're running full speed. That's got to be the worst thing you can do for a hamstring or a leg or a knee or anything. One of the worst things that are non-contact. So I just, I don't. As well as Julio played, as good as Mike Evans looked, we didn't get a lot of action from Russell Gage. But the fact they're going to lean on the running game a lot, again, I don't see why we're pushing Chris Godwin in this situation. I don't get it. But we'll see. He's a fantasy team. I doubt if I'm going to play him this week.
I would not know.
I didn't start him last week, and I knew he was going to be on a pitch count, but I don't think I'm going to start him this week. So fantasy wise, I'll probably go with Mike Williams tonight over Chris Godwin.
Yeah, and good thing for you, I did swipe Fournette for you, so you're welcome there.
We'll be pounding.
You'll be welcome because I had the numbers here. I mean, the Saints, they gave up 201 yards on the ground against the Falcons. Now,
Peterson.
A good chunk of that, in all fairness, was Marcus Mariota.
Yeah.
And Tom Brady ain't running for 70 yards. I don't think so.
Sure.
I don't think he'll have that for the whole season.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Right.
So a little different there.
He might take exception to that.
I don't know about that.
He actually mentioned on his podcast that he had -1 yards rushing during the game, and he was upset about that.
He was upset about that.
Yeah. Because even when he takes a knee, he tries to move forward. He doesn't lose any yards. I love that. I hate the guys that take 3 steps back. My man, Sean King, for a fair field goal. I'll never forget that.
No, but I mean, 120 yards given up to Cordell Patterson. Leonard Fournette is better than Cordell Patterson in this offensive line, regardless of who's in, who's not. I'm taking that offensive line over Atlanta's any day.
Yep.
Right? So I think that the Bucs should have success. But then again, all bets are off in this game. I almost have to throw – I mean, I'm giving you the stats because they are what they are, but I almost have to throw them out the window.
Throw the records out.
I have to throw them out because I have evidence to go off of. This team cannot beat the Saints in the regular season. This 6 in a row, 6 of 7 overall, excluding the one that actually mattered. but they cannot beat the Saints. And I said at the beginning of the year, and I'm probably going to stick to it, I have a hard time picking the Bucs to beat the Saints in a regular season until they do it for me. I have a hard time doing it. So I almost have to throw the stats out the window because the Saints just play differently against the Bucs.
They do.
They do. You know, Cam Jordan's going to be crazy. Demario Davis is going to be crazy. Lattimore and Mike Evans, we know that's going to be probably the best matchup in all of football this week just because of how intense it gets and the trash talking and all that. So, you know, you have to throw the stats out of the window, I think, in this one.
But is this the same Saints defense that's been playing against the Bucs? It's not.
I mean, a lot of them are the same. What's different on it?
Well, Malcolm Jenkins is gone.
Okay, Tyrann Mathieu in there.
Yeah, but the thing Malcolm Jenkins gave you, and of course Gronk is gone. But one thing he did was match up against Gronk, and they would put him one-on-one. So I don't know how that works since Gronk's not here anyway. But
well, I don't know who
Chauncey
covered
Gardner-Johnson. I mean, there's just
I'm not sure who covered Kyle Pitts in the first game, to be honest with you, but whoever it was, they held him to 2 catches. So it tells me that someone over there is good at covering hyper athletic tight ends. So I don't know. The Saints, to me, they're always going to be great at defense. They always are. I know it wasn't a great week 1, but against the Bucs, they always play their best. To me, as long as you have those 3 pillars of Jordan, Davis, and Lattimore at all the levels, and now you throw Honey Badger in there, the Saints are always going to be tough defensively.
I just think that, you know, when I heard in the offseason they talked about what the Saints do and they talked about the individual matchups with receivers, you know, a lot of that's changed. The fact that, you know, it's Russell Gage now, it's Julio Jones. It's just a little bit different. And also it's the run game. You know, this is the biggest thing for me is that I think what you did against Dallas, and I mentioned this earlier in the week, what you did against Dallas, and it wasn't just the fact that you had great success. It was the fact that it was a different running game. They lined up in the I formation, for God's sakes. When the last time you see the Bucs do that?
Well,
O'Keefe was a lead blocker in the I formation. They were running counter trays like what the old Washington Redskins used to do and pulling guards and tackles and centers. I mean, this is a very different running game, and Dennis Allen has to be going, oh, okay, well, this is different. We had the blueprint for the old Bucs offense with Bruce Arians. This is completely different what they're doing now, and I think one of the big reasons that they've changed is because they couldn't beat the Saints in this way.
Yeah.
So it gives them more options to be able to beat them. And then you saw the Saints run defense sucked out loud.
And they don't want Brady throwing 40 times
They
against
don't want
the Saints.
No, that's a losing proposition because what does that do? It lets Cameron Jordan and that whole pass rush get off. And this is going to be a completely different attack by the Buccaneers. And I think of all the teams it matches up better with, it's the Saints.
And maybe, hear me out here, Todd Bowles maybe is a better coach to go into this game than Bruce Arians.
Absolutely,
because Bruce
100%.
Arians, we love Bruce Arians, don't get me wrong. But
won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, he won a Super Bowl, right? Clearly it worked. But he could get stuck in his ways and be like, no, I'm going to throw 40 times because I have Tom and we're going to beat you over the top and that's what we do. We'll run it when we have to run it, whatever. I don't think Todd Bowles really cares about that at all. Todd Bowles doesn't. I mean, at his heart, he's a defensive coach. We get that. But you're already starting to see through one game his influence in the offense.
Yeah, that's why I asked those questions after the game of Todd and of Tom Brady.
Yeah.
It is different. I think it's completely different. That's what we saw last week, and I don't think enough has been made of it because that was what I took away from the game right away. This is a completely different football team. I mean, when you talk about 27 throws for Tom Brady, and that's why I think he was so shocked by the question. He probably didn't even know he threw it that little. He's like, I don't know. Is this the new Buccaneers offense? Yes, it is. And I think we're going to see more of it this week than we saw last week.
Yeah. And you mentioned, I mean, the getting the tight ends involved into the running game. It's like it was always Gronk. And I told you since the beginning of the year, I said, don't be surprised if you see O'Keefe out there.
That's right.
More than you think you are.
Yep.
To make up for Gronk not being out there. I think he's a secret weapon in this running game. And look, if I watched a little bit of his tape on the all 22s over the week, O'Keefe was everywhere. He played a great game against Dallas. So you put him into that thing. He reminds me of, like a better version of Alan Cross. I don't know. You see that resemblance almost. Remember when they had him? I'd almost love for him to be that fullback. And I mean, he's not going to be all stop by any means, but I'd love to see him like take on a little bit of a role like that. That'd be pretty cool. But yeah, the fact that they get those tight ends involved, I think is good to see. And it made it hard for Kyle Rudolph to get on the field, obviously. Yeah,
it really did. And I think that's what you're going to see this week. I think you're going to see more of it. And I'm here for it. And the same. And here's the thing: if Dennis Allen he's got to change his defensive approach. I mean, he can't just like, blow off the game plan from the last 4 regular season games and go, here we go, guys.
Yeah.
No, the Bucs have taken that away from him. So he's got to radically change his game plan against the Bucs. And that's got to be first and foremost, especially after watching the Falcons run for 200 yards. He's got to be a little bit concerned. And if I'm the Saints, I'm really concerned. So I get it. All right, we got sound from Devin White. All right, here's we're not going to play the Todd Bowles sound, folks, because wasn't much to it.
I'm saving you all time.
Wasn't much to it. And by the way, Richie P and Lonnie Wilkins are chiming in here. I'm going to get to your comments here in just a second, guys, because I want to talk to that before we get to Mike Neighbors. There was a hearing yesterday. We've been talking about this for a while. And anyway, I'll get to that in just a second. For the Rays, by the way, I was talking. Let's hear from Devin White yesterday in the locker room as we talked the Saints-Bucs rivalry.
Home is in Florida, Tampa Bay, so I don't know what you talk about when you say home.
Can you talk about this Superdome and just how harsh that environment is and what you're expecting?
For a player like myself, I feed on like that energy. That was the same thing with Dallas. You want to shut their crowd up. That's better than getting your crowd hyped. So I think if everybody take that same approach, just make them be quiet and don't get them nothing to cheer about, I think it'll all play out in our favor.
You thought Monday facing Jameis Winston?
Yeah, I just want to touch them a little bit, get them to the ground. That's all. Get a sack on them, get a pick off them. So it'd be fun, doing that against my former teammate.
Yeah, but what does this win do? Obviously, the Saints had this team's number for a while. But what would a win do Sunday to establish you guys kind of as the team to beat?
Win and just make us 2-0. I don't think it'll establish nothing because it's like after this, it'll be 14, 15 more games left. So, man, just being consistent is the thing. And being consistent from last week and obviously getting better. When we watched the film, there was a lot of bad things that we did. So, man, we just want to be a better football club. And, man, whatever team is next, that's a team that, hopefully we come to work with and put good stuff on tape. And it's just a team that got to receive the good things we do.
The 2002 defense has always been pointed to as the best in franchise history. You guys think you can eclipse that with the guys you've assembled here?
Yeah, we got the people to do it. All around the board, we got a lot of playmakers like they had. But we just got to put it together. They already stamped, and we just got to go out there and try to do what they did, obviously. But most importantly, ups and downs do happen in the season. We just got to be able to play off anything that happened and respond.
You can always tell when Devin's so hype. But I got to tell you this: I love the way he played in Game 1. He played so much better. Did you see him as he rushed the passer? How much more controlled he was?
Yes, he would take on blocks a little bit and actually make like a pass rushing move.
Yeah.
Instead of going in 110 miles an hour.
Because when you run around blocks, you open up seams.
Yeah, and by the way, baby steps again. If you think Pro Football Focus is the Bible, cool. If you don't, you don't. I use it as a tool, I guess, to judge some of these positions that your eyes are not on at all times during the game, right? And I've mentioned to you that Devin White is like one of the lowest graded linebackers, like on the history of the metric and Pro Football Focus. Yeah. Baby steps, but I'm just saying his grade in Game 1 was about 25 points higher than his overall grade last year.
How about that?
So again, there's some steps there. He still needs to make, and honestly, too, I didn't see many deficiencies in his pass coverage game either, which is one of the areas where he struggled at last season. I know Dalton Schultz, obviously, he was like the only reliable target out there, but nothing that really was over. I mean, did you see anything from Devin White in coverage that was like, oh, that's the same old Devin?
Not glaring, no.
Not glaring.
No.
And I think in this game, I mean,
I thought he played really, really well.
In this game, there's not really a tight end. I say that, but then again, Taysom Hill, I mean, yeah. This guy's going to be all over the blueprint in this offense. We already know that, but there's not like one of those top tight ends to like have to cover.
And he's killed the Bucs too. Let's not forget that. But this is going to be such a good test for the Bucs. And going into the Dallas game, I said it before the game. I don't see how Dallas moves the football on this team. I just don't see any way that they do. I said the only way that they're going to win this game is by getting turnovers and beating up the Bucs defensively. And they did play well in the red zone, but they were just not able to get enough turnovers to even up the game. And now this week, I think it's a completely different story. Jameis Winston, I don't know what the hell they were doing for 3 quarters, and Jameis looked befuddled. He was holding on to the ball. He wouldn't pull the trigger. to me, it looked like a quarterback that has been told, a gazillion times, do not throw into traffic, do not throw into traffic, do not, don't turn it over, don't turn it over. And in the fourth quarter, they're down by 16. Dennis Allen probably just said, let it rip.
You have to.
And when he let it rip, they were pretty damn good. He threw for 190 something in the third quarter alone.
He threw for 216 yards, I think, in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I mean, that's and look, that's the Jameis we're going to see, but that's also the Jameis that will throw you an interception or two. Like Devin said, you got to get your picks.
Yeah, I think Carlton yesterday was asked about that. What's Jameis, sticks out, and I think he said, he's always going to force it. He's always going to keep pushing and never give up, and that's always been like a good quality of Jameis, and it's always been a bad quality of Jameis. And I'm with you. It feels like the Saints, and listen, the Saints can do whatever they want. If they want to not let him be Jameis and they want to, play this dinky dunk offense, to me, that never is going to work with Jameis. I understand it worked last year and they won games, but they weren't winning games because of Jameis.
Right.
They just weren't. And they had the team built to do that. I think if they really want to compete and get on the Bucs level, regardless of the games they play against each other, they have to let Jameis be Jameis at some point.
Exactly.
They do.
Yeah.
I mean, in that game, I was the same thing I said. I'm like, man, they're just like not like opening up for him. They just wanted to throw these little dinks and dunks.
He was holding the ball, and you could see it, and he was just playing very, very guarded. You want to play a little bit of Jameis from yesterday?
Yeah,
we'll get to
Jameis is always
Mike Neighbors.
Jameis is always a good quote at the podium.
He's the best. Always love his press conference.
How do you duplicate that? I mean, if you could, you do it every game, but how do you talk about doing things differently, or how do you duplicate what you did in the fourth quarter going forward?
Well, first you want to start faster, first and foremost. But I mean, it's just execution. That's all it is. It's executing. Like when you execute, it looks like that. The fluidity of the game happens at a faster pace when you're executing as offense.
How are you feeling?
Do you like to hurry up?
Yes, I mean I like it. I mean, but I don't like being down, that much. I feel like it's a balance between everything. But I think we executed that situation really good.
I mean, you've done a lot of that in your career. I mean, you look like you felt very comfortable, not huddling and just doing what you had to do, right?
Yeah, that's what we did. We did what we had to do, and we executed.
How are you feeling physically now as opposed to immediately after the full game?
Well, I'm still getting over some, first game soreness, but it always feels good coming off with a win.
There's nothing like concerning though, like physically after that, like getting into how your games work, basically.
Oh no, you sore, but you back to work, and now it's on to Tampa Bay.
As it pertains to the protection, as you were able to go over the film and kind of ID, some of the free rushes that got through, how much of that is, just checks identifying, where that rush is coming from, and how much of it is the scheme that you're running? Yeah, it's some of the scheme, and most of it's just on me. Getting the ball out in terms of timing, getting the protection to the right guy. But as the year goes on, we're gonna continue to get better and better at that, especially with the communication from me, Eric, and the running backs.
Did you feel like you and the offense was primed to have a pretty big game the last time you played them in the Superdome, like before the injury? I mean, I remember the first drive you went right down and scored.
Yes, he did.
I mean,
there's a lot of
Yeah, I'm just happy we won that game. Last year, that game was shortly lived, but we're excited for this week. It's going to be a new team, same schematically, great head coach, great defense, great offense, and one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. So we got to come with it.
When you went into the tent last year, did you know at that point, hey, this is it for me for the year? Did you think that?
No, of course not. I tried to get back out there, just wasn't physically able to. But
what were your thoughts when you were sitting in there and you had worked so hard to, get back to that point, and then the rug was kind of pulled out from under you?
I'm just grateful that I have this opportunity now. Hopefully I don't have to relive that moment again. I'm just pressing forward and keeping my eyes focused on this week and preparing for this team, which is a very great team.
Well, we'll get a little bit.
That's the last one here about.
No, they just another team. I got a lot of respect for a lot of those players, some of my old teammates. But at the end of the day, it's a division game, going against the best and Tom Brady. But
I don't get to go against him. I get to go against Devin White and Levante David, and Antoine Whitfield and Vita Vea and Shaq Barrett. So got to prepare for those guys.
Yeah, I missed the old Honest Jameis.
I was going to say he had a bit of
he
a
learned all the cliches.
he had a bit of a Brady quality in it. Yeah, we're going up against great offense, great defense, great coaching.
Got to be ready.
Got to be ready.
Yep. Every man has to really, be at his best this week. No question. Brady will talk today, by the way. I think he's 1:30 today. So we'll get some more. Hey, some days he's been great.
He's better during
some days he's been,
He's been a little bit better during the week.
Yeah. After the game, I thought he was really good.
Well, it depends if it's a win or a loss, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. I thought he was good the other day, though. He gave us some good stuff. All right, real quick before we get to Mike Neighbors, Richie P asking me if I've heard anything about Stu's hearing yesterday. No, we have not. Can you imagine that? A hearing for the baseball owner of a team that may be moving to Tampa and all that's going on. He's being sued, and we have no press coverage whatsoever. There was a developer meeting yesterday. Richie P says the USF P campus in Midtown didn't show up with an RFP. Shocking development. So more into the race a little bit later on in the show. So let's bring in our good friend Mike Neighbors, and we'll talk some Saints and Buccaneers for our first hour, brought to you by the Emerging Investigations, Tampa Bay's #1 private investigation agency. What's up, Mike Neighbors? How are you, my friend? Good to see you as it's Bucs Saints week. This is your week, baby. You got to love it.
It's a big week. I expect a big game, too. Obviously, pumped up crowd. I like what Todd Bowles said. It's not about the crowd. It's about accountability with us not getting it done. I thought that was a leadership moment for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this week. Something, he's gotten from Bruce Arians, obviously. They don't mess around. They just get to the point. But, yeah, I think this is going to be a great game.
Yeah, I got to believe the Bucs are uber focused on this one. And as I mentioned earlier, Dennis Allen, I'm sure the Saints, they've talked about this because they deserve to crow about it. They've had Tom Brady's number. They've had the Bucs number 6 out of the last 7 regular season meetings, I think. And Dennis Allen can't just blow off the game plan because guess what? After week 1, this is a completely different Bucs offense. They threw it less than they ran it. I think for the first time since Brady's been there, and they ran it effectively. And this is going to be a whole different offense that Dennis Allen has to prepare for. And he just gave up 200 yards rushing to the freaking Falcons. So, Mike Neighbors, I put it to you. This is a little bit of what's Dennis Allen doing this week with this game plan?
Well, they made Cordell Patterson look like Walter Payton in Atlanta. I don't know if you overlooked the first game, but it seemed that way in the first 3 quarters. I mean, guys, at halftime, the Saints had -3 passing yards. -3.
Unbelievable.
I mean, and then we're talking about all the new weapons that Jameis Winston has with Jarvis Landry and a healthy Michael Thomas and Chris Olave. Well, they all woke up. The alarm went off in the fourth quarter. Defensively, it was really odd, though. I talked to Cam Jordan at length after the game, and he just said, you know what, we just had to adjust in that game. Marcus Mariota, I think, surprised them a lot with their game plan, running the football early on. First series, he ran it a lot. It's a weird game because all 3 phases were terrible. And then all 3 phases had these great comeback stories in the fourth quarter. I mean, you had the defense. They were letting Patterson and Mariota just run all over them. They stopped that. The offense woke up. Then Will Lutz, who's one of the best kickers in the NFL, missed a field goal. And how many times, guys, do you cover a game and you see a kicker miss a field goal and you're thinking, that's going to come back to haunt us? And it looked like it would. And then he gets the game winner. So I think it's a teaching moment for Dennis Allen. It's one of those great moments as a coach where you get the win, but you can motivate your team because they played terrible for 3 quarters. He got up to the podium in Atlanta, and the first thing he said is, I hope I don't have any more of those.
Yeah. I want to know, is it personnel in terms of running the football? You just think that it was Mariota, and clearly the Bucs don't have that option in those run options. Was it just Mariota, or was the offensive line of Atlanta dominating the Saints' defensive line and linebackers? What did you see?
Well, if you look at it, Marcus Davenport to me is the X factor for the Saints defensive line because he's a very talented player. I mean, they gave up two ones for him to select him in the first round, but he can't stay healthy. He's healthy now. David Onyemata in the middle, and then you have Cam Jordan, and one of my favorite names in the NFL, an unsung hero on that D-line. How about this name? Shy Tuttle. Excellent name, Shy Tuttle.
Yeah.
So they're I think personnel wise, the Saints defensive line is one of the best in the NFL. They should have dominated Atlanta, but they didn't. I think they were surprised early on. I don't know if they were overlooking the Falcons. I don't know what was going on, but there's no reason. It's not. I don't know. I think of a good running back in the NFL. It's not Cordell Patterson. He's basically a hybrid anyway. He should not be running over them like that. He shouldn't.
Well, Leonard Fournette certainly ran over the Cowboys last week, and this is a very different Bucs running game. I mean, it's not the staid, really boring running game we've seen for the last 2 years from the Arians offense, the Leftwich offense. This is we ran a jet sweep. The Bucs ran a jet sweep. Oh my God! Like twice, and then maybe three times in this game, plus a lot of different stuff. So, I think this is, and the main reason I think they did it is because they needed Saints that they can make them one dimensional, and then when they do that, they can shut down Tom Brady with their pass rush. So I just think that you wipe the slate clean. I think this is a whole new X's and O's game.
You know what's crazy is Dennis Allen's calling card with this defense has been holding running backs under 100 yards.
Right.
I mean, they set the NFL record for consecutive games doing that. So for them to play that way, that was the biggest shock. You figure the offense, the timing, it's going to take a little while, but the defense was, to me, the story that was kind of buried in that game. And you made good points bringing it up because the offense saved the day at the end. So you kind of forget about all the yards they gave up on the ground. But that was always the constant with the Saints. I mean, Drew Brees throws for all these yards, and the defense holds running backs under 100 yards. So that's why it was surprising. I was prepping for our pregame show. How about this? The last time, as you know, and as your fans know, and as Nick knows, the last time the Bucs won in the regular season against the Saints was 2018, the season opener with Fitzmagic. Now, this is why we love sports. If somebody would have told any of us, okay, guys, in 4 years, Jameis is going to be the quarterback of the Saints and Tom Brady is going to be the quarterback of the Bucs. That's crazy.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh my God. So offensively, when I looked at the game, watched the highlights of the game, it looked like to me that Jameis was just absolutely terrified to throw an interception. He held the ball, got sacked for the first 3 quarters. And then when they're 16 down, he had no choice but to let it rip. So which Jameis do we see this week?
Well, I was disappointed in the play calling because the offensive line didn't do Jameis any favors. But to your point, he needs to get rid of the ball sooner. Bucs fans saw that for years.
Right.
I think they had to adjust. How about some screen passes? How about mix it up with Alvin Kamara and the running backs a little bit? They didn't do any of that. But to your point as well, when they put Jameis in the hurry up in the fourth quarter, he stopped thinking. He started hitting everybody, all the weapons that he didn't hit, all his new toys in the first 3 quarters. He just played. And when Jameis Winston just goes out there and plays, he can make every throw. I mean, in that fourth quarter, he made every throw. He showed his whole resume. So I don't know. I worry about Kamara in this game from a Saints perspective because he's limited in practice. They picked up Latavius Murray. Mark Ingram, has barely any tread left on the tires.
Yeah.
If Kamara doesn't play, and he's obviously not near 100%, this is where you worry about Jameis. He feels like he has to do everything. He feels that he's a pleaser. That's the way he is with people and everything. And in his play, if he feels like he has to do everything, that will be bad for the New Orleans Saints. Think about this, though, guys. Last year, when Devin White, hit Jameis, he's out for the season. I wonder in that game, the Saints won that game, but if Jameis would have stayed in that game, how it would have been different. I mean, Trevor Siemian is a serviceable veteran. He's not going to make a lot of big mistakes. Would Jameis have made big mistakes in that game? Would the Bucs have capitalized? That's kind of a big what if for me last year because last year was so impressive because the Saints had so many quarterbacks, so many injuries, like a lot of teams, so many COVID outbreaks. But I always wondered about that game because if Jameis would have won that game, he could have coupled that with the Patriots and the Packers. And I hear all this stuff from Bucs, whatever, media and fans. Well, we got shut out last year, but we didn't have Godwin and we didn't have Evans.
Right.
The Saints didn't have Winston, and they're playing receivers like Marquez Callaway and Traquan Smith. I mean, it was pretty even that way.
Yeah, I agree.
And you mentioned all the running backs that are banged up, like Kamara and everything. And I didn't even know they brought in. Was that like yesterday or Latavius Murray?
2 days ago. Yeah.
2 days
he was
ago.
a dependable guy from my hometown of Titusville, Florida, by the way. Got to give a shout out.
UCF grad, I believe. Also.
Absolutely. You know what's funny? A buddy of mine told me he was playing pickup basketball with Latavius Murray last week, and now he's on the Saints.
Oh, he's going to get 20 carries
You're
for the
in.
Saints against the Bucs defense.
He's a waiver wire pickup this week, maybe.
Yeah.
Who knows? But no, because of that, though, because I was going to ask about Kamara, and you kind of answered some of those questions. Does that mean that Bucs fans, and I speak for everybody here, despise Taysom Hill and when he's in the game because of what he does? Does that mean the Saints are going to subject Bucs fans to seeing this guy on the field? Probably because we saw what he did against Atlanta, that one drive where he just took over.
He was all the offense, Nick, in the first 3 quarters.
Yeah.
I mean, we keep looking at the numbers, and you take away Taysom, you have nothing. I mean, he had the direct snap run, and then he had the touchdown run. And remember, Taysom had that big block punt against the Bucs a few years ago. That changed that game. That turned that whole game around. You don't see him playing special teams as much as a strictly a tight end. A buddy of mine texted me during the game. He said, Jameis looks jacked. Has he been lifting weights? Well, not Taysom looks jacked. Taysom's always been jacked. He's just a different kind of player. But I think if Jameis goes out there and uses his weapons and makes the correct reads, and if Kamara is serviceable, you throw Taysom in there with all the receivers. Guys, we talked about that previewing the season. Yeah. This Saints offense has a lot of potential, but I think we all have seen Jameis, the good and the bad. We need consistently good for a while to really think that he's over the hump.
Mike Neighbors joining us here, covers the Bucs and the Saints. They talk about the rivalry, and I think Todd Bowles tried to downplay it yesterday, basically saying, well, one team's got to win. You just got to go back and forth, win and loss, and that hasn't been the case. I think that's bullcrap. I think the Bucs have been circling these games. They changed their entire offense, I think, to beat the Saints. I think that there's going to be a renewed, I don't even know if renewed is the right word, but you're going to see the very best of what the Bucs have to offer. And of course, you could tell us the Saints, they ain't backing down. Just because they've won a bunch in a row doesn't mean this isn't the most important game for them as well. So I expect the highest of intensities. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think these two teams are obviously upper echelon, not only the NFC South, but the NFC. I mean, the NFC is up for grabs. We've seen that early. I mean, the Rams look very beatable. I know the Packers lost, but heck, they lost last year and they came back and they were the 1 seed. But there's not an alpha yet in the NFC. I haven't seen them yet. So it's there for the taking. With that said, these are two very good football teams, and everybody's good in the NFL. But I think the Saints have the mental edge. I think this defense knows they can beat Tom Brady. In Brady's 4 regular season games against the Saints, I mean, he averages 1.5 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and almost 3 sacks. And that's in a year last year where he put up all those numbers. So mentally, the Saints feel like they can win. And that's powerful, I think. I was pleasantly surprised, weren't you, with the O-line for the Bucs? I thought they played a little better than I thought they would. And I thought that was a good
might not play this week. Yeah, Donovan Smith is a huge question mark.
That changes the entire game.
Yeah,
because
it does.
We watched Josh Wells. I don't know if you probably saw some of that Sunday night game because Josh Wells was the first 2 plays he came in there. I think he got blown up by Micah Parsons, right? Yeah. So that's a bit of a problem.
Well, then we solved that with the little illegal chip block by Leonard Fournette. My God, shut the hell up. Please. And these are defensive players bitching about getting hit by 2 players, and especially by a running back who gets hit by 5 players on every play. This is ridiculous.
You guys talk to former players all the time. I know former Bucs who live in the area, and I do too. And I talk to former Saints, and we text during the game. And some of these calls, it's like training camp. They don't do 2-a-days anymore. It's just a whole different ball game than it used to be, all around, everywhere.
I got to ask you this though. I mean, obviously, we talk about the rivalry, but there's real bad blood here because, I've heard public comments on it, but you probably won't hear a lot this week. The Saints are pissed, and they think Devin White took a cheap shot. They call it a horse collar and took out Jameis Winston last year. And they retaliated with P.J. Williams. I'm going to say this till I die. That was a dirty shot on Chris Godwin. The Bucs think it. Every player in that locker room thinks it, knows it. And I'm just saying, it could get nasty out there because both teams feel like the other team has been taking cheap shots. And I'm interested to see what happens in this game. Are you hearing any murmurs of that? Because I know it's definitely going. I think to a man, they won't say it publicly, but to a man, they feel like that was a cheap shot that PJ put on Chris Godwin.
Well, they can think that, but the people that I really trust in the league feel like that was a legitimate hit. And I will say this. the thing that I remember about this rivalry is when Donovan Smith got the extension, Cam Jordan tweeted like an emoji of popping the corks on a champagne bottle. That's the kind of stuff that I really like because, I like athletes who have fun like that because if you meet Cam Jordan, he's like this big teddy bear guy, man. He's not a mean guy, but he has fun and they enjoy this rivalry. But I'll go back to this. They feel like they can beat Tom Brady. They feel like they can beat this Bucs team because they have. And Todd Bowles, I think, has told his football team, listen, we got to go out and change this. It's not a rivalry until we start winning a little bit. So I think it could. But my whole thing with the Saints is right now, the chip they have is that I think a lot of people around the league all are picking the Bucs to win the NFC South because Sean Payton's not there. Mm-hmm. They still have a lot of talent. And media coach Jameis Winston didn't say anything bad about the Devin White hit. But, Jameis is a competitor. And I ran the errands series that we've talked about where I run errands with sports celebrities. We did it with Jameis. The last half of it, I looked at him and I said, let's go off the record. And I asked him a lot of things about the Bucs. And even at that point, still took the high road. I think his mindset is, I just got to go out there and play, man. I got to do it with my play. I could say whatever I want. But in the same vein, I don't think there's a lot of bitterness with Jameis Winston with the Bucs because it was Tom Brady. It's not like they brought in Jimmy Garoppolo or something. It's Tom Brady, the GOAT. And not that it wasn't easy watching the Bucs win the Super Bowl, but I think, knowing it's Tom Brady, what are you going to do?
I think maybe, if anything, it puts more pressure on Jameis.
Absolutely.
Because he wants to go out there and show up. Yes. Tom. He was well on his way to doing that. And that's the thing about Jameis. And I wanted to ask you this, and we'll close with this. When you look at his journey, number one overall pick, a lot of bad press, locally, nationally. The kid has been, I think, exemplary in so many ways. He's been great with the media. He never took the bait in the press conferences when he could have, except maybe the last game he was here. Everybody universally loves him. If you're a teammate, if you're a media person, I haven't met anybody who knows Jameis personally that does not love him. And then he gets replaced by Tom Brady. They go win the Super Bowl. Then he's got to go begging for a job. He led the league in freaking passing, and he can't even get a job. Right. And he has to sit behind Drew Brees. Then he finally gets his opportunity, and he's killing it. He's killing it. He's leading 16 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He's about to boat race the Bucs, and he gets an ACL. And that leads to
what makes it tougher is he goes to the Saints, doesn't even start. Tom Brady goes there, and all of a sudden brings in help that Jameis didn't have when he was with the Bucs. He didn't have Fournette. He didn't have Gronk. The defense wasn't as good. The kicking wasn't as good. All of that's a credit to Tom Brady and what he can bring. But, Jameis is looking at it like, damn.
What the hell? Yeah. But that brings us to this moment where he's healthy now, and he's got a chance. And this is his team. And he's got a chance, if he has a great year this year, to get that contract that maybe, if he doesn't play the last 2 games of 2019 when he was hurt and didn't have any receivers, should have sat his ass down. I don't know why his agent ever even let him go play. He made it and with the Bucs, and who knows what happens there, but he didn't. But it all leads to this moment against the Bucs. I think it's a great story. It's a great story, and see how
I'll give you an example of Winston. I was speaking to a Rotary Club this week. A lot of sports fans were there, and they were asking me questions afterwards. One was about Jameis, and I brought up our Aaron series and my experience with him. I don't pretend to know these athletes. I don't. But my experience with him is like many of us with Jameis Winston. It's a good one. And after I said that, 2 people in the crowd stood up and kind of gave a testimonial. Yeah, the one time I met him, he was this. Or one time I met him, he was great to my son. Kind of the anti-Warren Sapp experience.
Exactly.
But it's really, to me, indicative of his impact in this community. And I've heard a lot of stories like that.
Yeah. Well, listen, I'm not for my business. I love to see the Bucs win, this week, but I'm always going to be pulling for Jameis. And mostly not against the Bucs, but I'm always going to be pulling for him because I think he's a good dude, and I think he's pretty talented. So we'll see. All right, pimp up all your great content.
I'm eating W's right now. I love how he's stuck with the W's. By the way, he walks off in Atlanta eating W's with Michael Thomas. You know what? He was criticized, but he told me he trademarked it too.
Oh my God.
Has he got an alphabet soup endorsement yet?
Maybe that's next, but he told me he trademarked this. So anybody out there trying to steal it, it's all Jameis's. Just letting you know.
I don't think he's going to have a problem with that. I don't think anybody's going to want to steal it. But if you want to see the errands that you did with him, pimp that up. It was awesome. I watched the whole thing. It's fantastic.
I appreciate it. Go to YouTube. Saints errands, like you're running errands. Jameis Winston. We're actually doing one with Jarvis Landry. I'm flying out today. We're going to do one tomorrow. A surprise from his high school. So these are all community oriented now. It's a lot of fun.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate your time as always. And we'll chat with you maybe next week and unravel what happened on Sunday. It's going to be
anytime, guys. Let me know anytime.
You're the best. Mike Neighbors. I mean, it just, as we set that up with Jameis, I mean, it is such an amazing story, an amazing journey for him. This kid from small town Alabama to growing up in a house with 20 kids and, being the number 1 overall pick, winning a national championship, taking the worst professional dive you could possibly take, having to suck that up, then another injury. And now he's on the precipice of maybe coming back again.
Yeah. Every single thing that's happened since the Bucs decided not to pick him up again for that, what was it? Would have been the 5th year or the 6th year, whatever.
6th year. Yeah.
Yeah. Everything that's happened since then is so fairy tale when you look at it and how the stars have all aligned. Like Jameis could have gone and been a New York Jet. He could have been, whatever. Name any just middling team in the AFC or the NFC, whatever, and we'd forget about him forever, and he'd never play the Bucs again, and it would all just fade away. But the fact that he goes to not just any team, but the biggest rival that the Bucs have.
Yeah.
And we all knew when that happened, okay, well, he's going to be the successor to Drew Brees, and eventually we're going to have to play this guy 2 times a year. And then the fact that Brady comes to Tampa Bay and wins the Super Bowl the year after Jameis goes to 30-30. It's just a great story. That's why every time they play the Saints, it's always a big talking point because this is like Jameis's revenge game almost.
Right.
Like, and he's going to be amped up to play. The Bucs are going to be amped up to play. There's we talked about the rivalry there. I think there's almost like many rivalries within the rivalry. Like I told you about the Carlton Davis and Michael Thomas matchup is going to be insane. I mean, those guys don't like each other.
We saw that.
They've put it, which Carlton Davis, by the way, yesterday was like, I don't really like to talk on social media that much. And all the Saints fans came in with the tweets from Carlton Davis. So they got him there. Called him Slant Boy and all that. And then, of course, the Mike Evans, Marshawn Lattimore, they don't like each other.
No.
We know that.
No. And I don't think I will not ever think that Devin White's shot on Jameis was dirty, but I do think PJ Williams' shot on Godwin was dirty. I'm sorry, he put his helmet right on.
And I'm sure Saints fans feel the exact up. It's just,
of course they do. Of course they do. Absolutely, I totally respect that. But there's an underlying. We talk about rivalries in the NFL. And the fact of the matter is, these guys play for one team one year and they're on the other team the next year. They're all mercenaries, but there are some rivalries in football where they truly hate each other. These two teams truly.
Well, that's my question though.
Other.
Is there a bigger rivalry in the NFL right now?
I don't think so. I mean, people would go watch it. Redskins, Dallas. I mean, that's so played out.
No, those are old. No.
I mean, no, I think if you want to talk about pure unadulterated human hate for two teams, this is it. This is it. Now, I think Jameis loves his old teammates, but I'm talking about those other guys that we just mentioned. There's a lot of guys that
Cam Jordan, throw him. He hates the
Cam
Bucs.
Jordan, Donovan Smith. I mean, there's a lot of these matchups that it's real.
Yeah, this is a game.
Hate.
This is a game that I wish Ryan Jensen was playing in.
Oh yeah,
this is a game I wish he was playing in.
We should probably not have him on the sideline.
That's probably not good.
I think he might be good
He'd
for
throwing the crutches a little bit.
He could get a couple penalties from the sideline. I wouldn't bring Ryan Jensen to this game if I were you guys.
And Julio Jones, by the way, he hates the Saints too.
That's right.
So now he's a newfound part of this rivalry, and he hates this team. Keanu Neal. I mean, we just added guys in who don't like this team either. Tyrann Mathieu, he don't like Tom Brady. That much we know from the Super Bowl.
Right.
So they add guys in who hate Tom Brady. It's almost like they're almost adding they're adding more fuel to
fire.
it.
Yeah. Well, I cannot wait for this game. This is going to be so much fun. All right, we got to take an extended. We haven't taken a break yet.
No, we 55 minutes uninterrupted here
there
this
you go,
morning,
man.
folks.
We're going to have to thank our sponsors tremendously through the next hour.
And Scott coming in on the other side.
Yeah, Scott Carter's coming in on the other side. Brought to you by Jeeves Law Group. They love the Gators. Scott Jeeves loves him some Gators, so hopefully he's listening today. The Scott Carter's coming on with the Jeeves Lawgroup.com, Gator Report, that's coming up next. So much more college football talk, more Bucs, more Rays, all that stuff coming up here on the JP Peterson Show. Stay with us.
Let me tell you about Bay Area Modern Medical Center. Are you experiencing low sex drive, fatigue, hot flashes, moodiness, and you just don't feel like you have the vitality you once had? You're not just getting old, it's likely low testosterone. Studies over the last 20 years show a shocking decline in younger males aged 16 to 39. Older men have seen a sharp decline as well. Do something about it. Go see my friend Christopher Lugo at Bay Area Modern Medicine. Testosterone replacement is not a frivolous treatment. It takes a professional, targeted approach that focuses on total body wellness, vitality, and emotional stability. Not a one-size-fits-all approach like many clinics use. They will monitor your blood work and adjust your treatment as needed for optimal results. Call 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. Tell them JP sent you for priority scheduling.
Military veterans, are you struggling with alcoholism or substance abuse? Is it taking a toll on your relationships and your work life? Are you having trouble focusing, constantly anxious? Well, you may not be surprised to know that your fellow military vets have your six. Heroes Mile is a new concept in rehabilitation clinics, veterans helping veterans. At Heroes Mile, we staff our rehab center with fellow veterans who can understand what you're going through. Our mission is to help you heal from issues that only your fellow veterans can truly understand. Located just outside of DeLand, we offer a full range of inpatient and outpatient programs dealing with substance abuse, post-traumatic stress, and military sexual trauma. We choose to serve veterans because we know how complex these issues are. You could choose to fight the battle alone or win the war together. We are the community care provider with the VA and also accept most major insurance. At Heroes Mile Rehabilitation Center, we have your six. Go to heroesmile.com or call 888-VET-NOW-2. That's heroesmile.com or call 888-VET-NOW-2. Attention, if you are home shopping or looking for a refinance, and even if you already have the approval letter, you must call my man Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services. Scott has a brand new program available in the greater Tampa Bay area called the Community Advantage Loan Program. Get this, no money down, no mortgage insurance, no points, no origination fee, purchase or refinance, and loan amounts up to $647,000. Now, there are some application requirements. It must be a single-family home, one unit, primary residence, and have a minimum 640 credit score. The program only applies to certain neighborhoods, so you have to call to find out if you qualify. So call Scott Fitzgerald at 813-294-7595 or email him at scott@amstampa.com. Now, even if you don't qualify for that program, Scott will shop your loan around, get you the best rates, and won't charge you the huge upfront fees. And if you've had issues with your bank calling you back, Scott will return calls immediately or at least the same day. 813-294-7595 or email him, scott@amstampa.com. Scott Fitzgerald, MLS 386722, American Mortgage Services, 1000 North Ashley Drive, Suite 1020, Tampa, Florida. JP here for Emerging Investigations, Tampa Bay's premier investigation agency. Do you suspect your spouse is cheating or involved in a divorce, that your spouse is hiding money, an ex-employee or current employee with suspicious behavior? Is there a criminal matter you need help with? If you need information you can count on, using the professionals at Emerging Investigations is a slam dunk. Emerging Investigations is a licensed and insured private investigation agency, family-owned. Emerging is your ideal resource to secure evidence and validation, allowing you to make informed decisions in life's biggest matters. Led by industry executive Brian D'Antonio, Emerging possesses the experience and resources to get needed results. Emerging Investigations maintains an excellent reputation as a premier investigation agency. They are known for results. You're not just hiring a PI, but an organized, dedicated team using state-of-the-art technology. Their proven investigative methods produce crucial information used in criminal cases, insurance fraud, and personal injury claims. Many local attorneys, industry agencies, and your concerned neighbors all count on Emerging Investigations. Just go to their website, emerginginv.com, or call 813-291-FACT. That's 813-291-FACT-3228. Get results you can trust in life's biggest matters. Emerging Investigations. Now is the time to make sure your home insurance is in order. In the last year, many of us have made improvements to our homes. So call the folks at Italiano and discuss these upgrades to make sure you have enough coverage. According to a recent report, almost 64% of homeowners don't have enough insurance on their home, which is their most valuable asset. Also, a great time to make sure you have flood insurance. Even if your mortgage company does not require flood insurance, your home could still be at flood risk. Another big item as we enter hurricane season is making sure your pool enclosure is added to your policy and there will be no issue at claim time. That happens a lot. So call your friendly agent at Italiano Insurance to review your policies today. 813-877-7799 or italianoinsurance.com.
Hey guys, Serena Fazan here for the Golden Diamond Source. Are you looking for the hottest trends in men's jewelry? Ladies love to see men spice it up with something cool from the Golden Diamond Source. Whether you're looking for a gold chain, fashion rings, even a pre-owned Rolex watch, or thinking about getting engaged, there's only one place to go. Go see my friends, Julie and Steve Weintraub at the Golden Diamond Source for your one-stop jewelry supercenter. It's never been more important to shop local and support the businesses that support our amazing Tampa Bay community. None better than the great folks at the Golden Diamond Source, 3800 Ulmerton Road, or online at goldendiamond.com.
Hi, my name is Mike Warner, a Navy vet. I've had problems with addictions throughout the many decades. Something saved my life, and that is the Heroes Mile program.
Hi, I'm Bill Lennox, retired Lieutenant General, United States Army. If you have any challenges in alcohol, drug, if you have PTSD, MST, think about Heroes Mile.
Heroes Mile, a recovery center for veterans by veterans. Call 1-888-VET-NOW2 to learn more or visit heroesmile.com.
Coming back at you. Now, more with JP on Fan Stream Sports. It's only just begun.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show. Our second hour brought to you by Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Chris Lugo was on the show last week. Had some great takes on nutrition and exercise and science and sleep and all that stuff. So if you want to go back and listen to that, that's on our podcast section. And he's also great. They're doing a great special right now on their weight loss, $100 off their plan. So go to BAMMC.com and check that out. All right, it's time for the Gator Report with our good friend Scott Carter, brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group. Jeeves Law Group, that's Jeeves. Scott Jeeves is a huge Gator fan, and I know he's going to be in the stands for this week's game in the Swamp as USF comes to town. The great Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com joining us here. Good morning, Scott. How are you, my friend?
Hey, JP, doing well, man. See if the Gators can get well tomorrow night or Saturday night against the Bulls.
Yeah, I think there's a pretty good shot at that happening. The spread is 24.5. And I was telling Nick here, the fact that Billy Napier and Jeff Scott have worked together, and Napier basically says, I owe my whole entire career to his dad, Brad Scott. I'm like, you know what? I think Billy might, if they're up a few touchdowns, empty the bench at the end of the game and maybe let Jeff cover the spread. So I might be on the USF side. But just talk a little bit about that relationship. And I always think it's really interesting how when two coaches like this get together in what really has become a huge game for both teams, really, how that all plays in, because that's one of your best buddies over there.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a familiarity there. And you see these matchups now, it seems like more than ever, because there's so much more coaching movement in college football. But both of these guys are still relatively young in their careers. Billy's 43. I know Jeff Scott's younger than that. So I think, Billy Napier, I've been around him long enough now. You guys have seen it. I mean, he's a pretty genuine guy. He, when he talks about Brad Scott's influence early in his career and meeting Jeff Scott, I mean, he means it. He means that they made a difference to him back then. And you got to remember, JP, I mean, he got fired after his second season as offensive coordinator at Clemson. That was when he made a move there after they set the school record for points the season before. And then he, got a job on with Nick Saban at Alabama and kind of rebuilt his career. And now he's at Florida. And, it is fun to see these matchups. They offer some good storylines before the game. And, I think once the game starts, that stuff kind of fades into the background. They're doing different things now than they probably did back then.
Scott, talk a little bit about Anthony Richardson, the short-lived Heisman campaign that died at Florida Field last week. It was silly just to even talk about it, honestly, that people did. But, it was really different. What we saw against a really, really good Utah team. And then here comes Kentucky and Mark Stoops. And, AR just didn't have it. What happened in your estimation?
Yeah, he didn't have it. Hits it on the head. Anthony, give him total credit. After the game, he comes in and he took full ownership. He was very kind of distraught, the way he let his teammates down, let fans down, let his coaches down. He just, I think he lost confidence in that game. If you look at his body language in that game, it totally, I went back and watched the replay Sunday. And you can see early on a couple of throws and his body language just changed. Yeah. Now, having said that, I give Kentucky a lot of credit with what they were doing defensively. They forced that change of body language because they didn't give him a lot, and they spied him the whole game. But Anthony, there's no way that he was just off. He missed some throws that we've seen him make, and then they really did take away the running game. And I think for him, that's going to be so important just throughout the season. And I think, if he could have snapped off a nice run here and there between some of those errant passes, maybe he doesn't go into the jar like he did. But it was a costly performance, and we'll see, like everybody else, how does he rebound? That's been the question all week.
And I think, kind of how you mentioned, he's going to need more help, I think, especially in the running game. And Kentucky obviously did a really good job of taking that away. But I'm looking at the running game, and there was so much talk of who's going to be the duo or the guy to step up and replace Malik Davis and Damian Pierce. And I tell you, to 2 weeks, I'm really impressed, and I know everybody at Gator Nation is, with Trevor Etienne. He's only gotten the ball, I think, 14 or 15 times for the first two games, but he's been great every time he's gotten it. Do you think that's more of an emphasis? Because this is a great opponent to go up against and maybe test some new things out against a defense that's been pretty leaky through two games.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of been tossed to Napier a couple of times this week, and his response, I think, both times said, "You guys don't know me very well." He's not going to hold much back. He knows that this is an important game for them to win, to get Anthony's confidence going again before they go up to Tennessee. But in your bigger question, Etienne definitely has been impressive. I liked what he brings to the team, but Billy said again last night at his media availability that this is a kind of a running back committee approach. He's used that throughout his career with success. He says all three of those guys, Naquan Wright, Montrell Johnson Jr., and Etienne, will continue to be next man up, so to speak. But it's almost going back to last year. Dan Mullen got criticized a lot that he didn't use Damian Pierce more with that running back by committee. And in hindsight, you're right. It's probably not a bad thing. I just think these things usually take care of themselves. If Trevor Etienne continues to make the biggest plays of the game or some of the highlight plays, he's going to get the ball more. That's just the way it works. So, but as of right now, it's going to be the same approach.
Scott Carter joining us here. It's the Florida Gators Report brought to you by Jeeves Law Group. Scott, any key injuries this week that will affect Florida?
Yeah, a couple of big ones, JP. Ventrell Miller is going to be out. The linebacker who got hurt down in Tampa last year against the Bulls missed the rest of the season. It was a very costly injury throughout the year. They really missed Ventrell's leadership in the middle and his playmaking ability. And Michael Tarquin, the right tackle, I think he's going to be out a few weeks. Ventrell, I don't think, hopefully not that long, but Tarquin, what he's got, I guess it looks like he's going to miss a few games. So you're looking at Austin Barber on the right side of the offensive line, came in last week and played pretty well. Young guy. So you look at him and Richie Leonard getting some reserve snaps in that linebacker. Shamar James, the freshman who's been playing. Scooby Williams, I think, is probably going to start there. So it's a chance to see some younger guys. You hate to see a guy like Ventrell, a 6-year senior who worked so hard to come back, and now he gets hurt. But I think there is hope that he'll be back sooner than later, but going to be out this one, it looks like.
I mean, obviously, Will Levis is one of the top prospects, quarterback prospects in college football. He was really good last week. I thought Kentucky's plan was really, really good. Now here comes Gary Bohannon, who had a tremendous year at Baylor. Transfers to USF, has not been as good here, still learning this offense, still getting used to his receivers, etc. What do you think the defensive plan is this week? I would guess you would see a lot of what BYU did, and that's get after him against a pretty inexperienced and not very good offensive line. So I would expect the Gator defense to be very aggressive this week. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would think so. You saw that last week against Kentucky's inexperienced offensive line, and Kentucky got the win. Levis, he made some plays, but he didn't control the game. It was really more about some of Anthony Richards' mistakes that gave Kentucky such a short field, and they took advantage of it. But I think you'll see that they got a lot better. I think they had 3 or 4 sacks last week after not having any against Utah. And you're right, this USF offensive line does seem like something they can exploit. And, it's going to be a chance for just some of these young guys to make their mark for Florida. And, you got Bohannon, he's definitely a guy who can, beat you a couple of ways. I know their running game has been pretty solid. I think they're ranked 13th in the country after a couple of games in running the ball. And Batti's a dangerous guy, but you just want to make sure, I think, from Florida's perspective, if Bohannon is going to drop back to pass, make him as uncomfortable as you can, because he's not. I don't know if he's just going to beat you with his arm,
And is that at least something that Florida can almost hang their hat on through 2 games? Because obviously the offense is going to take some time to get going. And it was a good reminder that was Anthony Richardson's, 3rd start? As Billy Napier kept saying, don't crown him yet. He's only had 2 starts going into that game. But the defense, last year we all know it was well documented that it was just a mess last year at times. And at least through 2 games, you play 2 top 10 opponents, right? Albeit at home, but you only gave up 52 points, I think, 26 in each. So is that at least something we can already go to and say, okay, we've already made really good improvement because we've played really 2 good teams and we've given ourselves a chance to win those games if we had better offense?
Yeah, I think that's something that they like, the development over there, because they are counting on a lot of young players who are getting their first significant experience. So when you go against Utah and Kentucky, both teams ranked, you come out 1-1, but like you said, I mean, it wasn't like they moved up and down the field the whole night. I think they did better against Kentucky than Utah, but still lost that game. But, that's going to be something that if they can continue that up, maybe they get away in a game or so when Anthony maybe is a little off, but not that off, especially in the turnover game. When you lose the turnovers, it's going to be hard for any defense to overcome those kind of significant turnovers. But I do think they're playing solid and better communication over there early in the season.
Well, it's going to be a raucous scene. Is it a sellout this week? Because I know a lot of USF fans probably were thinking about going early on, but maybe not. Night game in the Swamp. These are always fantastic. And I'd love to see these rivalry. Not that it's a rivalry, but I love to see these in-state schools playing more. I think Florida and FSU and Miami should play these schools every year. I'll throw UCF in there, FIU, FAU, instead of playing some of these stupid non-conference games. I really like these games. And I know for USF, it's something that they've circled for a long time, but it should be a packed house, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it's going to be close if it's not. I don't know if it's been announced as a sellout, but I remember the last time the Bulls came up here. It was my first week on the job up here after covering USF. Hottest game I've ever been to.
Oh my God, yes.
It's still, even 12 years later, there's never been a game that's been hotter than that game to me. It was, a big win for the Gators that day, and haven't played them since until last year down in Tampa. Now they come back, so. Looking forward to seeing what kind of crowd and maybe catching up with some old friends.
Yeah, that last year's game was fairly competitive at points, I guess. In that game, at least there was a lot of scoring. I know USF hopes to get back to that because they were embarrassed in week 1, and there were so much high expectations. I'll just be really interested to see what USF puts out there. I think they're better than what they showed against BYU, but they got to do it on the field. And the seat's already getting hot for Jeff Scott. I don't think he's going to get fired anytime soon. I think Michael Kelly wants to see what, give him a full chance to show what he can do. But they've got to show improvement this week. There's no doubt.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, it's going to be a tough environment for them, but they're also catching a Florida team that, we're going to all learn together. How does Anthony Richardson respond? It's a chance for Florida to get right, but I think USF is improving some. I mean, from a couple of years ago. I mean, I know Jeff's got 419, I think, in his first 23.
Yeah.
And I know BYU was kind of a letdown for the home fans down there, but there's going to be no doubt they'll be pumped up for this game and a chance for their quarterback too. I mean, Bohannon to kind of get in the big stage again.
Yeah. All right, it's going to be fun. 7:30 kickoff at Ben Hill Griffin Stadium Saturday night. USF fans will probably be very interested to see walk in there very gingerly to see if this is going to be a blowout. I hope it's a more competitive game this year. No doubt about it. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate your time. We'll chat with you next week.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
All right, the Gator Report brought to you by Jeeves Law Group. As I mentioned, Scott Jeeves, big Gator fan. He'll certainly be in attendance there. If you have recently totaled your car and got an insurance settlement that you don't think was up to value, well, you have a case. Call the Jeeves Law Group at 727-894-2929. That's 727-894-2999, and you could still be owed some money. So they'll check into it. That's one of the things they do. Jeeves Law Group focuses on auto, truck, and motorcycle accidents, as well as class action and consumer protection law. Scott Jeeves is a board-certified trial lawyer and certified circuit court mediator practicing in the Tampa Bay area for over 30 years. And the insurance companies know it. So when they see Scott Jeeves coming in the Jeeves Law Group, you're going to get a better settlement. So give them a call at 727-894-2929 or go to jeeveslawgroup.com. And thank you very much for their sponsorship. All right, we'll take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll talk a little Rays baseball. I know some comments. You guys have asked me some comments on our chat line there on YouTube, and I've got some answers for you. Somebody who was at the hearing yesterday for Stu Sternberg and his partners who are suing him. So we'll tell you what we learned when we come back. Stay with us.
JP here for Emerging Investigations, Tampa Bay's premier investigation agency. Do you suspect your spouse is cheating or involved in a divorce, that your spouse is hiding money, an ex-employee or current employee with suspicious behavior? Is there a criminal matter you need help with? If you need information you can count on, using the professionals at Emerging Investigations is a slam dunk. Emerging Investigations is a licensed and insured private investigation agency, family-owned. Emerging is your ideal resource to secure evidence and validation, allowing you to make informed decisions in life's biggest matters. Led by industry executive Brian D'Antonio, Emerging possesses the experience and resources to get needed results. Emerging Investigations maintains an excellent reputation as a premier investigation agency. They are known for results. You're not just hiring a PI, but an organized, dedicated team using state-of-the-art technology. Their proven investigative methods produce crucial information used in criminal cases, insurance fraud, and personal injury claims. Many local attorneys, industry agencies, and your concerned neighbors all count on Emerging Investigations. Just go to their website, emerginginv.com, or call 813-291-FACT. That's 813-291-FACT-3228. Get results you can trust in life's biggest matters. Emerging Investigations. Now is the time to make sure your home insurance is in order. In the last year, many of us have made improvements to our homes. So call the folks at Italiano and discuss these upgrades to make sure you have enough coverage. According to a recent report, almost 64% of homeowners don't have enough insurance on their home, which is their most valuable asset. Also, a great time to make sure you have flood insurance. Even if your mortgage company does not require flood insurance, your home could still be at flood risk. Another big item as we enter hurricane season is making sure your pool enclosure is added to your policy and there will be no issue at claim time. That happens a lot. So call your friendly agent at Italiano Insurance to review your policies today. 813-877-7799 or ItalianoInsurance.com.
Hey guys, Serena Fazan here for the Gold and Diamond Source. Are you looking for the hottest trends in men's jewelry? Ladies love to see men spice it up with something cool from the Gold and Diamond Source. Whether you're looking for a gold chain, fashion rings, even a pre-owned Rolex watch, or thinking about getting engaged, there's only one place to go. Go see my friends, Julie and Steve Weintraub at the Gold and Diamond Source for your one-stop jewelry supercenter. It's never been more important to shop local and support the businesses that support our amazing Tampa Bay community. None better than the great folks at the Gold and Diamond Source, 3800 Ulmerton Road, or online at goldendiamond.com.
Let's go. Right now, back to the show with JP on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by, in our second hour, Bay Area Modern Medical Center, the Jeeves Law Group, and also the Gold and Diamond Source. September's birthstone is sapphire, and I did not know that it comes in every color except red. I did not know that. But if you have somebody who has a birthday in September, it'd be a great gift. Get them something from their birthstone. And don't forget, guys, a lot more guys wearing jewelry now. It's become very, very fashionable for guys to wear more jewelry. They have the fashion rings over there, or gold chain, silver chain, whatever you're looking for. Watches, of course. They've got a great selection of watches. Saw Steve Weintraub and the boys on a TV commercial the other day showing off some really sweet watches. So they've got a great selection over there. So if you want to check it out, they've got used ones as well. So if you're looking for a collector's watch, maybe a Rolex that's become really, really big, they can find just about anything for you as well there. So it's the Gold and Diamond Source, 3800 Ulmerton Road, always online at the goldendiamondsource.com. Breaking news, Roger Federer finally retiring. For me, and I go back to, I'm old enough to have watched Bjorn Borg play and Jimmy Connors and McEnroe and some of the greats that have played this game. To me, none better than Roger Federer. I think he was the greatest all-around tennis player of all time that I've seen. I mean, it's tough to choose between Djokovic and Nadal. Throw Pete Sampras in there. Pete Sampras was phenomenal and almost unbeatable for so many years. But, I think just Federer, he's played in almost every era, the longevity, just beautiful to watch. The way he played the game was just incredible, with class and dignity, power, precision, everything, and was clutch. Man, that guy was so clutch. He could make shots on the biggest points, which is why he won so many freaking majors. What, he won 20?
Yeah, I believe he ends with 20, Roger Federer. But yeah, I mean, I'll tend to tell you that I think Djokovic might be the most talented player I've ever seen, honestly. And I think when it's said and done, he still has so many more years to go, I think, and he'll end up being the all-time leader in Grand Slams. But I think Roger Federer, probably the most important player for men's tennis, I think, because he kind of came after that wave. He kind of came after, the end of Sampras and Federer came in, right? Mm-hmm. And I think he changed the way we view men's tennis, especially from a monetary standpoint. I mean, you look at the endorsements. The guy still makes like 80 or 90 million a year, not even playing, off of endorsement. So I think he changed the game in that way. Probably the most admired of the three, because I mean, Djokovic, it's like he's so split on opinion. You either love him or you hate him, and I think it's because of just the way he is. Nadal obviously is very loved by a lot of people, especially in Spain, but I think Federer is probably the most admired of the three overall. So unfortunate we don't get a happy ending with him like we got with Serena at one of these tournaments. I think he's going to play in one more smaller ATP event here coming up, and that's going to be it for him. But
not another Wimbledon.
The
way he serves in volleys, I mean, he could go into the second or third round still, I think. But the injuries, I think Father Time has finally taken a toll on him, and it's just, it's not like Brady where you can, take 7 steps back or 6 steps back, avoid getting hit and throw the ball.
Yeah.
You got to run all over the freaking court against these young kids that are just ridiculously fast and get to everything. And it's just, the time has come for him. But what a career. So beautiful to watch. All right, let's get into a little bit of Ray's stuff here. Richie P asking about the hearing that went down yesterday. And also there was a meeting yesterday, I believe, Why don't you pop up some of these because my computer's going real slow here today. Richie P says the Tampa Bay Times reported the developer meeting happened yesterday, but the only news coming out from that is that Midtown didn't show up, kind of telling. Yeah, I think you're seeing some of these developers that have spent a lot of money on these RFPs for the Tropicana Field redevelopment site basically say, we're not dealing with Stu Sternberg anymore. We're not dealing with St. Petersburg anymore. We've got other things to do with our business, other places that are actually bargaining in good faith that we know we're going to go forward with. So these companies are pulling out because they know that Sternberg has just been playing everybody for a long, long time, and it's not worth their time to get involved with it. And frankly, I don't blame him. And as we've said, I feel bad for Mayor Welch that he's fallen for the same trap that was laid for Kreisman and Baker and all these other mayors before him, the Raise 100 and everybody else that think that, Stu has been serious in looking to build a stadium, and he really has not been. We didn't talk about this. David Beckham and other developers have come up with this $1 billion stadium that they're building for MLS down in Miami. And there's not going to be any government money needed for the construction, maybe some government money. I think they're getting a land grant, but they're doing it on their own because they can afford it, because the development rights allow you to do this, folks. And this is what I've been talking about for so long, especially in Tampa. I mean, if you can't figure out a way to build a baseball stadium and condos and retail and like Atlanta has done. I was just in Texas. Arlington, there's 2 freaking baseball stadiums, folks, in Arlington. 2. Because why? Because they have Texas Live around it and all the development that's going on around it, that these developers are making money hand over fist. And if Stu Sternberg would get with some developer, which I think he might be doing now, there's rumblings of that. You don't need money from the government to do this. You can control it all yourself, control the development, and make a crap ton of money. It's not that hard to do. Everybody is doing it, and especially in Florida. And look at Tampa Bay. We're the 3rd largest growing area in America, and people are moving here in droves. And you can make tons of money selling condos around your freaking baseball stadium. I just, for the life of me, it's just, this is what makes it so frustrating. And this is why developers are now giving up on it as well. It's sad because it shouldn't be that way. I mentioned I got an email from somebody who was at the hearing yesterday. There was a hearing. The judge was hearing the motion from the Rays, basically to have the one count that is supposed to go to a jury trial. And this, my source tells me, it became a non-event. Both sides threw some meaningless items at the court over the last few weeks, and basically the judge just said everything's on hold till we rule on the most recent information. Asked when a ruling will be coming, none now. So looks like this is going to be on hold for a little bit longer. And that's frustrating, because I think this is a big part of the process for Stu Sternberg to have some clarity on this lawsuit with his partners, and if he's going to move forward. Because if it is a jury trial, many lawyers say that there's obviously going to be public depositions, a public discovery, and Major League Baseball, we know, will do anything to get out of that, which means they would have to do something with Stu Sternberg. They removed Vince Namoli before. They could do it again. There's precedent for this, obviously, here in this marketplace. So I still think, and many lawyers agree, our good friend Christopher Palermo says the same thing, that this is definitely a possibility. And this is what these partners want. So I think it would be a good thing, obviously, if Stu Sternberg were removed. But we'll see what happens. Right now, it doesn't appear like anything, but this ruling could come at any time. So we'll see where it goes from there. So if you're looking for something new and interesting on the stadium front, I wish I could give it to you. I think it's still pretty much status quo. Mayor Welch wants to go forward with something in St. Pete with these redevelopment plans that he's looking at. I still believe in my heart that Major League Baseball does not want him to build in St. Pete, and why St. Petersburg would want to spend $1 billion on a failed location is beyond me. It's absolutely the stupidest thing you could possibly do with your revenues. And I don't think the people of St. Petersburg, quite frankly, are interested in spending that money. I think if it went to a vote, to build a stadium for the Rays and give that money to Stu Sternberg, I think it would fail miserably, especially from what we've seen from the electorate in recent years. And I think Mayor Welch being elected would certainly point towards that. That's not what the constituents are interested in my opinion. So we'll see what happens going forward. Let's you want to put up Lonnie Wilkins here, Nick? The Rays have a real shot at having one player, Randy, with 20-plus home runs, Paredes with 18, but the rest are hardly sniffing 10. They need a bopper or two. When they really made a big run, they had them. And now Brandon Lau is probably going to be done for the season, so expecting anything out of him is probably not going to be there. I think, honestly, if the Rays are going to make anything in this postseason, they clearly have the pitching to do so. I think it's going to be on Wander Franco, to be quite honest. He's going to have to come back and add some serious punch to this lineup. Otherwise, I mean, I know Harold Ramirez is still hitting, but they've scored 21 runs in their last 8 games.
It's not going to do it.
Their previous 8 games, they scored 45 runs. 45 runs.
And it's alarming because it comes against the Yankees and it comes against the Blue Jays, which are 2 teams you're going to have to go through to get to your ultimate goal. And we talked about it all year long. It was like the Rays were playing up to their competition, down to the competition. Last 2 series, and it's come at the worst time. The offense has just gone dry. The pitching has not been as good as what it needs to be either. But I think Wander Franco, since he's come back, I think he's starting to get his timing back, I think, a little bit. And he's been pretty good, plugging in that 2-hole. And they've been obviously taking him off his feet a little bit. He was in the DH hole last night. So I don't have any concerns about Wander Franco at the moment. Just they got to get other guys going. It's as simple as that. And it needs to happen fast, quite frankly.
Yeah. Yesterday, Ross Stripling, who's now had 6 straight quality starts, shut him down into the 7th inning. And that's the thing, the Rays, when they face really good quality pitching like they're going to face in the postseason, it's tough for them to score runs. You're just not going to win scoring 2 runs a game.
Yeah, and today,
even with their pitching, you can't do it.
And tonight, it's not going to be any easier because Kevin Gausman's on the mound. And we remember last time the Rays faced him, there was not a lot going on activity-wise for the Rays offense, but don't want to bury the lead here because today it's a holiday again because Sugar Shane has been reinstated.
That's right.
He's back on the mound tonight for your Tampa Bay Rays. We came on that show after the injury in a very depressed mood because we had fears that it could have been something more serious. Thank goodness it was a 2-week injury. Back on the mound tonight. We'll see what kind of leash that Kevin Cash has for him. I can't imagine it's going to be one of those days where he's going, rolling like 6 or 7 like he was before. I can't imagine that, but we'll see. Hopefully that his velocity is still there, and we don't have a situation like it was when Wander came back early in the summer and it just wasn't right for him and he had to go back on the IL. I hope something like that does not happen, but definitely I hope this provides a jolt having your ace back in there tonight.
Well, it better, but again, if he goes out and pitches like he has and holds them to 1 or 2 runs, which I don't expect, this time off, I don't expect him to be super sharp and just come back and be the best left-hander in baseball, which is what he was. I still think there's a question mark as to how effective he can be down the stretch because he's, as John Smoltz said the other day, this is uncharted territory for him. He's not gone to pitch as many innings in his career, so you just don't know how that's going to go. But let's hope that he can, this little bit of rest will help him and rejuvenate him, and he can pitch that way down the stretch.
Yeah,
we're going to need it.
There was a comment here from Jordan Gamilla, and he said, not sure what Nelson Cruz's were with us, but we definitely miss his power. He single-handedly won a few games for us. Would have been nice to re-sign him for a season despite his age. I'm going to disagree there because Nelson Cruz, at the time, it was thought of, okay, the Rays have actually made a nice move here. And they gave up a pretty good young player in Joe Ryan.
Who almost pitched a no-hitter.
Almost pitched a no-hitter the other night. Yeah. Nelson Cruz, I did have his numbers here. He was hitting .294 with a .907 OPS with Minnesota. When he came to us, .226 average, .725 OPS. Wow. And this year, it's just proven that he's past it because he only got 10 home runs this year on an awful Washington team, and the OPS is down to .651. So in all likelihood, Nelson Cruz is probably past it, and this is probably it for him. So I'm going to disagree there. I don't think him in this lineup would have added much at this moment. The Rays made a right decision, I think, in not re-signing him because if he's there, what can he do? Play DH. That's it. Yeah. And when you're hitting like he's hitting this year, I don't think it would have helped much, but it's a valid criticism that the Rays don't have enough power. We talked about it with John Smoltz, and they went about like 5 or 6 games, I think, without hitting a home run into this Toronto series. So that just shows you they go stretches without not doing it. And they've been able to find other ways to win. But when you're not getting a lot of those, the Rays have been like Harold Ramirez is a good example. He's always so good at just putting the bat on the ball and kind of finding the open areas in the field. Yandy the same way. When that's not happening, the offense gets so stagnant. And that's what we've seen the last few days. So it definitely is a concern for me as we get down the stretch here.
Yeah, and I have gotten so much shit for saying I wasn't on board with the Austin Meadows Itzhak Paredes trade, and obviously Meadows has struggled with health and mental health this year. We didn't really realize that was going on, but it did. But it is. The bottom line is my fear was, how do you replace those 106 RBIs? And we haven't come close to doing that. Whether they were counting on Josh Lowe or whoever, Paredes, who's had 18 home runs, but how many RBIs?
They've come in bunches though for him. Yeah. There's lots of stretches where he's just not playable.
Yeah. I mean, so that's the RBIs are a big freaking stat. It just, even though I know his average wasn't where they would, but when you're knocking in that many runs and you've got to try and replace that many RBIs in your lineup, it's not that easy, as we have seen. And we're just putting in a lineup right now that can hit in clutch, can hit for power. For the most part, it's really, really dried up, and it dries up against the better teams, and it dries up against good pitching, which is exactly what you're going to see in the postseason. So that's why when Smoltz said the other day, and I believe, I totally agree with him, the Rays have figured out the regular season. They know how to do it. They use a lot of different arms at a lot of different angles. They blow out the bullpen. But when it comes to the postseason, you've got to have some legitimate hitters in your lineup that are going to show up in clutch moments, that can hit for power, and those guys are expensive. They're expensive, and that's why when I asked them, do you think that the Rays should spend, if they spent to league average, just not talking more than that, how much better they would be? And it's absolutely true. And they're where you spend your money. And obviously they've gone out. They tried to get Freddie Freeman, who certainly didn't want to come here and play in the Trop. No way. Most of these position players don't want to play in the Trop. So a new stadium is absolutely essential to new revenues coming in, to getting to that middle of the stream, middle of the league payroll. And it's absolutely essential to getting players to want to come play here. And you can make all the trades you want, but you're usually going to be trading for young players like Itzhak Paredes, who are not going to be consistent and are not going to be big power guys. And that's the truth of it. And that's why the Rays have done really well in the regular season, but I think they're always going to struggle in the postseason with the way they run this team.
Yeah, Jordan brought up a point here. Not having a healthy 5-tool player like Franco has cost us. They expected 30 home runs, and that simply hasn't been the case. I don't know if they expected 30 home runs out of Wander. I don't think he's ever going to be. And it's still early, but I think the way he swings the bat, like the last thing on his mind is, I got to hit a home run here. I don't think that's kind of the way he operates. It's so built on contact and, spraying it to all ends of the field. And I think that's more of what he provides for you. I think if you're expecting him to be, Fernando Tatis and hit 40 home runs, if you're expecting him to be Juan Soto,
we're paying him for.
I get that, but I mean, I don't think he's
expecting 30 home runs. Yes.
I just don't think he's a 30 home run guy. I don't.
Well, if he's not a 30 home run, he better be a 100 RBI.
I think what he is, and again, this guy has learned to hit 30 home runs, and maybe it will come, is Jose Ramirez. I think that's his best comp, to be honest with you. And I think that's the best case scenario the Rays are looking at here. But, when you have this many injuries in the middle of the season like this, and you're a young player and you're still adjusting, I almost use like the Anthony Richardson effect. We want to crown everybody, and we have to step back and realize that he's 21 years old.
Yeah, it takes time.
It takes time.
But see, we've seen Tatis.
We
seen
have.
Soto at young ages become MVP type players. And that's what so the age thing, if he's the phenom that everybody says he is, then, he's plenty old enough. These other guys are doing it, and everybody, the comps have been Tatis, the comps have been Soto. These have been the comps. That's what people say. So I expect that from him, and that's what we're paying him for. So, but I know normally I would say it's young, he's young, you got to give him time, and that's all true. That's all been true in baseball, but we've seen, then don't make comps to these other guys. Don't do it. He's not.
Well,
he's not.
but here's the
Tatis.
thing,
He's
though.
not Soto.
Here's the thing, though. Wander Franco in the minors. Do you know what his career home runs? His career high in the minors is for home runs
18,
11. He's had one season where he's hit double-digit home runs. That's what I'm saying. He is not a true power hitter. Okay, and that's why I think everybody's blown away and the comps and all this stuff.
Well, 25 to 30 used to be, like that's good power. That's not great power. It's good power, and I would expect him to have good power. Obviously minor league seasons are much shorter. Yeah, all right. So 11. If that's, I thought it was 18. I thought he was close to 20 in home runs. So if you're going to pay him that much, he needs to at least knock in 100 runs. If you're not going to hit 40 bombs, make it 25 with 100. At bat 325, 330. 45 doubles, and let's get up to the 100 RBI mark. That's it. The Rays need that, and they need him to come alive. They need Randy Arozarena to have a playoff run that that's never going to be duplicated, I don't think. But the 10 home runs, but they need he was hot for that stretch, and now he's cooled off against his better pitching. I
don't think he's really cooled off. I think Randy Arozarena has been the bright spot for the lineup for the past month here. I mean, he's had stretches where he's carrying the offense, and he's been on the base paths, and he's been active there. I think 30 stolen bases now.
Very active.
And it was hard for him to get that 30th one the other night. It's like he had to try it like 5 different times. So no, I think that was a valid criticism of Randy at one point in this season. I was like, there's another level to his game. And I think he started to find it here as we've gotten into August and September. And listen, I mean, last year in the playoffs, it was a quick run, 4 games, right? But who were the best players on the team during that run? It was Randy Arozarena and it was Wander Franco. So I think once we get to playoff time, it might be a completely different scenario here.
Well, they got to get it going today. They got 2 more games with the Blue Jays. McClanahan goes tonight.
It's the last one with the Blue Jays.
It's the last one with the Blue Jays. McClanahan goes tonight, and who's going for them?
Gausman.
Yeah, Gausman, who's the gas man, is certainly give them trouble. So, by the way, if you missed the Smoltz interview, you can go back and get that on our podcast as well. He was in the 11:30. They came up 11:38 on Wednesday.
Yeah, 11:38 to 11:52. Yeah.
On Tuesday. Yeah, 11:38 to 11:52 on Tuesday's show. So go back and check that out. A really good, wide-ranging interview on the new rules as well, which he loves. He loves all the new rules, I've come full circle on the shift thing. At first, I was like, learn how to hit out of the shift. But when Matt Joyce came on and talked about it, and Smoltz talking about it, it's so true. These guys throw so hard. Their control is so good, compared to, and then you combine the analytics. I mean, they're pitching you on the inside half, and they got 17 guys over on the right side of the field. You're trying to find a hole. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's damn near impossible.
I was going to bring up Smoltz real quick because, I mean, I don't know if you know this, but he is a divisive figure of sorts in baseball circles because he has this reputation. Oh, he's just an old head, and he doesn't know what he's talking about. And so I did a little test. The other day, I typed his name into Twitter because you can get the gauge. It's the quickest way to get the gauge of fans. And I know nobody's controlled on Twitter. There were a lot of people saying, oh, my gosh, can't wait to hear John Smoltz absolutely shit on these new rule changes and bring out his old headness. And I'm just like, no, it's not. It's actually far from the truth, actually. He said he loved.
Did you post the interview? Tell him to go listen up?
Yeah. Everything he said about the rules he was in favor of. And so, I mean.
Loves them all.
He loves them all.
Including the pitch clock.
And I think you're seeing that now in baseball. I think a lot of the older players are putting sort of their natural opinion aside a little bit or what they grew up going because they know that the game has got to get to a certain place and it's just not there right now.
Well, it's got to get back to what it was.
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't have to go to some great place. Baseball has evolved into a shitty game. And that's what people, these old heads just want to get back to the days when there was movement in the game. Where the game was balanced with singles hitters and gap hitters and power hitters instead of all power hitters striking out or walking. The game was balanced with even pitching. And now it's just everybody throws 100 miles an hour. They can't control it, so you're walking or you're hitting home runs. It's just the game has evolved into a crappy game because of the shift, because of analytics and everything else. So, and like he said, way better than I could say it, it's, we need to bring it back to where it was. Not as much, make it, some incredibly different video game type thing. It's not what we're looking for.
I think with all these rule changes, there's the effect of, it first comes out and everybody's like, oh, this is awful. It's going to suck and players aren't going to like this. We did the same thing last year. Remember with the checking for the tack and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And there were so many pitchers, like Max Scherzer was stripping on the mound.
Yeah.
Like, what do you want to check out? Now it's like this year, does anybody even really pay attention to that? We all thought that was going to slow the game down. It's a 3-second thing and it's over with and nobody talks about it. I think that might be the similar effect you have with all these changes. Once we get about 6 months or 3 or 4 months into the season next year, nobody's going to even realize these things are even happening, in my opinion.
I think the game's just going to be so much better because first of all, you're going to have so many more hits. When the shift goes away, averages are probably going to go up on average, I think 30 or 40 points. I really do. I think it's going to be that dramatic.
Yeah, and Brian Anderson brought up a good point though yesterday because, I don't know if you saw this on the broadcast, and Bally kind of penned it a little bit because we're expecting the next big rule change to be the umpires going away, and we're going to have the automated ball and strike zones. And he kind of had a good point. Framing has become a staple of the catching position now. If you can't frame as a catcher, you're just not going to be behind the plate that often anymore.
Right.
And it's become
they have metrics on stealing strikes.
Yeah, it's become one of the main attributes as a catcher. And he was like, so what are we going to do with that? Like, we're just going to throw that attribute away, which we've been teaching catchers now is so important. And now that's going to go away. So that's something to keep an eye on a little bit if catchers don't like that as much. But I think it's coming. I think it's coming.
But can I say the framing pitches has been part of the game forever?
I think there's more of an emphasis now, though, than there was before.
Yeah, I think there's more of an emphasis, but good catchers have always done that. But it's just, to me, it's like Smoltz said, that it's analytics, I think, has made the game worse because it's made the game harder for hitters. And when you make it harder for hitters, it's not as enjoyable. There's not as much offense. And you've got to, like you said in basketball, we don't let guys stand in the lane for 10 seconds. Goaltending. When there are certain things that develop in the games and trends that start in games, your rules have to keep up. So while analytics is smart and it's great and it helps you win, it also, I think, has damaged the game in that way because it's taken away a lot of the offense.
Yeah, and I think a good point to that is, like, you look at pitchers around the league and numbers. Like, nowadays, there's 15 guys right now with an ERA under 3. There's 15 guys. It used to be like there'd be like a handful of pitchers who would actually have those numbers year in and year out. And if you go back to, baseball 10, 15, 20 years ago, like, here's a good thing. At the turn of the century, guess how many pitchers had an ERA under 3 in the year 2000 when the century turned?
No.
There were 4.
Yeah.
There were 4. Now there's 15.
That was still residue from the steroids era.
That was the steroid. To show how different the game has changed right there. That these pitchers, and I told you yesterday, if you watch this pitching ninja page, you're just wondering how the hell are these guys even hitting the ball to begin with?
I know, it's so hard.
Yeah,
it's so hard to do.
We did get another comp, by the way, in here. I think this might be maybe a more comparable comp. Julio Rodriguez with Seattle, 21 years old, 26 home runs and 72 RBIs this year so far.
Yeah,
and we saw his power in the home run derby.
Yeah, so he's probably going to end up with 30 and then 30 and in the 90s. That's what I expect from Franco. That's what I expect from. That's what we got to have. We're going to pay him this much. When his contract actually kicks in, if we still have him, then that's what he's got to do.
You just got to get healthy, though. I mean, I think that's why I'm not worried right now, because it's just injuries, in my opinion. It's hard to get into a flow.
Exactly.
And look how he started the season this year.
Well, my point in the beginning was we got to have that guy from here. He's healthy now. We need to have that guy from this point and into the postseason, that when he comes up in the middle of the lineup, that there's fear and in production. It's got to be production. He's got to be that guy, because there's too many guys you can pitch around. I mean, the lineup is just not that thick, and you can pitch around the guys that are hot, and it's just too easy. That's why baseball is one of those things. It's such a numbers game. We could point to reasons here and there and that. It's outcome, man.
Yeah.
You're scoring less than 3 runs a game in your last 8, and you suck.
Yeah. Lonnie said here, Franco can be offensively maybe Zobrist 2.0. See, but that's where I'll push back and say we're not investing for Zobrist 2.0.
No.
I love Ben Zobrist, a great all-around player, one of the greatest Rays for a stretch, but
he was really productive.
He was really productive, but I think that Wander Franco, the offensive upside there, just a little bit higher than Ben Zobrist. I'd hope.
In his best years, though, he was extremely productive.
He had the
All-star
1 year
level.
in 2009 where he exploded for offense and had like 25 and 90, I think.
Yeah,
But other than that, he was mostly a 10 to 15 for like 60 or 70. And if that's what I get from Wander Franco, that's not what I'm paying you for.
No, he's got to be better than that. And again, the Rays need to go out and get legitimate boppers. You got to go you got to go pay for the offense. Simple as that. It costs money, but you're still running an $80 million payroll. That means you got 60 more to go. So go find yourself some big hitters. You still have a ton of young players that you pay on the cheap. You got to overpay for power and consistent production. You got to go get them, and you got to convince them to come play here.
Yeah.
How that happens, I don't know. But to me, that has been the glaring missing piece for this team forever.
It's like when you watch Toronto, it feels like every player that comes
God.
up, it's like, okay, this is a threat.
I was just thinking that last night. We were watching their lineup. Next guy. Jesus,
it's the same thing. It's the same thing with Houston.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing with the Dodgers.
Look at those lineups and then look at ours and go, we can compete with that. I don't care how freaking good our pitching is.
Yeah, because John made it a point. The Rays have to have everything go right for them to make it work. They have to have everything go right. And, right now,
they don't.
Not much is going right.
Yeah. When you lose, you're one of your big boppers in Brandon Lau, and Franco's not really doing it on a consistent basis in terms of, being a heavy RBI threat. Harold Ramirez is, he had a home run last night, but it's like it's more doubles.
We're not asking him to do that.
Yeah. I mean, you got to have that guy that's going to step up and hit that 3-run homer. And the Rays just don't have it right now, and it doesn't bode well for the postseason. All right, we'll take our final break. We'll come back on the other side, maybe give you a little bit more Bucs as we get ready for Tom Brady to speak today. I wonder if he's going to comment on Gisele's L cover. What is it? It's my turn.
Who's asking the question? It won't be Greg.
It won't be Greg. I think we know who's going to ask that question. We'll talk some more Bucs when we come back. Stay with us.
Attention, if you are home shopping or looking for a refinance, and even if you already have the approval letter, you must call my man Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services. Scott has a brand new program available in the greater Tampa Bay area called the Community Advantage Loan Program. Get this, no money down, no mortgage insurance, no points, no origination fee, purchase or refinance, and loan amounts up to $647,000. Now, there are some application requirements. It must be a single-family home, 1 unit, primary residence, and have a minimum 640 credit score. The program only applies to certain neighborhoods, so you have to call to find out if you qualify. So call Scott Fitzgerald at 813-294-7595 or email him at scott@amstampa.com. Now, even if you don't qualify for that program, Scott will shop your loan around, get you the best rates, and won't charge you the huge upfront fees. And if you've had issues with your bank calling you back, Scott will return calls immediately or at least the same day. 813-294-7595 or email him, scott@amstampa.com. Scott Fitzgerald, MLS 386722, American Mortgage Services, 1000 North Ashley Drive, Suite 1020, Tampa, Florida. Military veterans, are you struggling with alcoholism or substance abuse? Is it taking a toll on your relationships and your work life? Are you having trouble focusing, constantly anxious? Well, you may not be surprised to know that your fellow military vets have your six. Heroes Mile is a new concept in rehabilitation clinics, veterans helping veterans. At Heroes Mile, we staff our rehab center with fellow veterans who can understand what you're going through. Our mission is to help you heal from issues that only your fellow veterans can truly understand. Located just outside of DeLand, we offer a full range of inpatient and outpatient programs dealing with substance abuse, post-traumatic stress, and military sexual trauma. We choose to serve veterans because we know how complex these issues are. You could choose to fight the battle alone or win the war together. We are the community care provider with the VA and also accept most major insurance. At Heroes Mile Rehabilitation Center, we have your six. Go to heroesmile.com or call 888-VET-NOW-2. That's heroesmile.com or call 888-VET-NOW-2.
Guys, Let me tell you about Bay Area Modern Medical Center. Are you experiencing low sex drive, fatigue, hot flashes, moodiness, and you just don't feel like you have the vitality you once had? You're not just getting old, it's likely low testosterone. Studies over the last 20 years show a shocking decline in younger males aged 16 to 39. Older men have seen a sharp decline as well. Do something about it. Go see my friend Christopher Lugo at Bay Area Modern Medicine. Testosterone replacement is not a frivolous treatment. It takes a professional, targeted approach that focuses on total body wellness, vitality, and emotional stability. Not a one-size-fits-all approach like many clinics use. They will monitor your blood work and adjust your treatment as needed for optimal results. Call 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. Tell them JP sent you for priority scheduling.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's rock. This is FanStream Sports with JP.
All right, welcome back. We are brought to you by the great folks at Jeeves Law Group. Jeeves, Jeeves Law Group. Was your car totaled in an accident? Did your insurance company use Kelley Blue Book or NADA to appraise the value of your car? If not, call Jeeves Law Group for a free case evaluation because your insurance company may still owe you money. 727-894-2929. Jeeves Law Group will focus on auto, truck, and motorcycle accidents, as well as class action and consumer protection law. Scott Jeeves is a board-certified civil trial lawyer and certified circuit court mediator practicing the Tampa Bay area for over 50 years. They get results, and when insurance companies see you're represented by the Jeeves Law Group, they ain't happy about that. They get after you, and they get great results. So give them a call at 727-894-2929. That's the Jeeves Law Group, Jeeves lawgroup.com. And we're going to have Scott Jeeves on the program, I think, next week to take your questions and your comments, any legal issues that you have. All right, the Bucs have concluded. Well, they are practicing as we speak right now, and the media portion of coverage has concluded. Greg Auman from The Athletic saying Russell Gage, Brashad Perriman are practicing today. Didn't see Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, or Julio Jones during the window for the media, but that's all special teams, which they don't play. Evans was limited Wednesday. Godwin and Jones didn't practice. He also reports Bucs tackle Donovan Smith was not at practice today during the media portion. Leonard Fournette was practicing Thursday after being listed on the injury report on Wednesday. So that's good to see. And what else? He reports with Mike Evans, calf, Julio Jones, knee, and Donovan Smith, elbow, three veterans who could still easily test themselves Friday in a light practice and play Sunday. Not ideal. They're not practicing today, but still not sure it means too much as it relates to playing on Sunday. I think Evans is going to go. I think Julio goes. I think Gage goes. I'm worried about Donovan Smith. Because that's even with Donovan Smith, Brady is a target for the Saints, and they have gotten home way too often against him. But again, as we talked extensively about in the first segment, the running game is going to slow that pass rush down tremendously. And I think the running game is going to be effective this week, and I think it's a complete game changer.
Yeah, that's what you're hoping for. But I tell you what, if Donovan can't go, it's too early in the season for me to see Josh Wells. It's way too early. I was hoping that we wouldn't have to see Josh Wells for any of the season, but here we are. He's there, and we got to hope that he can do a good job. And I assume if he is in there, you're going to see probably Kyle Rudolph will be inactive again, and you're going to have a tight end porched right next to him probably for majority, if not all of the game, because that's what they're going to have to do. I'm a little concerned, here we are. It's week 1 in the books, and here we are. We're already starting the Julio Jones experience. I didn't even, where did the injury come from? I didn't even pick up on that. And it's like a knee, and it's like, here we go. Let's get ready because this is going to be a weekly thing. Is he playing? Is he not playing?
It's going to be a weekly thing. And I do worry in the fact that, when he was in Atlanta, he and Matt Ryan had so much chemistry. When he didn't practice, it wasn't a big deal. Tom still doesn't have that much practice time with Julio.
I'm not bothered by that though, because I saw what I needed to see.
Yeah,
in the game.
Yeah, but they're going to be better if he can get some practice time with Tom. So, I'm not concerned about it, but I think with Todd Bowles saying he expects all the receivers to play, I don't think Godwin's going to play, and I don't think he should play.
No,
I shouldn't have played last
think
week.
So.
Shouldn't
I
have played
don't
last
think
week.
so. I think they might be more caught. But I hate, by the way, I can't stand the people on Twitter that are like, "You see, Antonio Brown had a point. They don't protect the receivers." Those losers on social media.
Shut up. God.
Killing me, man.
The worst thing I've seen all year in football is everybody doing the AB dance. God, please stop.
I did like Mike Tomlin impersonating it though after they beat the Bengals. That was classic.
That was good. Yes, he was. That was satire, folks. That was satire. Big game tonight. We got Chiefs and Chargers tonight on Amazon. If you can find it out there.
I did double check. It is on NFL Network.
That's what I thought.
There you go.
So it's on NFL Network tonight and Amazon. So enjoy that tonight. That's going to be a good one. Mike Williams, please do something. Do something for me tonight. Tomorrow we will have Brady Tinker on to talk fantasy football and also betting. And we'll have Pat Burnham on tomorrow to talk FSU Louisville, which is tomorrow night, Friday night. That's going to be a big one for FSU. Looking forward to that. So all that on tomorrow's show. Have a great day, everybody. We will chat with you tomorrow. Go Rays.